All right, what's up, everybody? So we're back again. Another Well Squad Real Estate class. We're gonna go ahead and tap in. I'm gonna give everybody a couple more minutes to kind of fall in here. I know it usually takes 5 to 10 minutes after we start before people kind of trickle in here. So yeah, so this is I think this is our eighth class, seventh or eighth class together, and we've been covering a lot real estate related. One of our members is actually in the process of closing a deal right now from these courses. So I'll kind of talk a little bit. If I don't forget, I'll kind of talk a little bit about it at the end. He was pretty nervous. He's reached out a few times for some tips and just kind of been telling me about the process, asking to make sure everything was okay. Yeah, so he's pretty excited. It's a duplex, his first ever rental property. He's living down south in the Atlanta area. So hopefully, if I don't forget, I'll kind of touch on it a little bit at the end here. So, like last week, what we did was I found a deal and we kind of ran the numbers because I want you guys to kind of get that feel of running your numbers when you guys are doing your research to see if that property will fit within your parameters. Like I said, in the first or second class that we did, I showed you guys how to run your numbers. I don't remember if it was the first class or the second class. There's a bunch of calculators out there that you can just Google to figure out how much home you can afford. You know, that's half the battle. So many people think they can afford a certain property, and then they start doing all this research and they waste all this time on a property that is not even within their budget. So getting your budget and knowing what you can afford is a big part of that. So once you get that out the way, I always recommend people do that first before you even start doing your research, because that would just help you eliminate looking for a whole bunch of deals that you can't even qualify on. So, or that is just not even in your price range. So anyways, let's go ahead and dive in. Whoever falls in here will fall in. And then, like I said, after we get through running these numbers, I'm going to open it up for any questions that you guys have, or if any of you guys are any deals currently that you might want some help with, or you're not too sure, we'll have that at the end of this class, run through the numbers. So let's go ahead. Let me share this screen with you guys so we can dive right into it. Give me 1 second here. All right. So I actually had the real estate agent send me these numbers on this. So the numbers that I'm going to show you guys are the actual what the current rents are and things like that. Let me bring that up right now. So these numbers are current as of right now. Um, as you can see at the bottom of this right here, I have the rents, what each unit is renting for. So it's a fourplex. It's in the Las Vegas area. Where I'm going to bring it up here pretty soon. I just want you guys to kind of see the square footage. And I believe I probably messed up. I think my numbers are off by $100 in the next slide. You guys will see what I'm talking about. So anyways, some of the operating expenses that the current owner has. They're currently paying 774 annually in taxes. That just means they probably got this property a while ago, so their taxes really aren't that high. The property management, they don't have anyone that does the property management, so they don't have any fees for that. Last year they paid $3,000 in taxes, or I mean in maintenance for the year, $3,000 for utilities over the year. I don't believe there's a FHA on this, and it's just kind of talking about they require a $5,000 earnest deposit. So that earnest deposit is going to be letting the current seller, when they ask for earnest deposit, it's typically not going to be that $5,000. That's pretty high, but with the way how the markets are right now, it's a seller's market. So that means, sellers can request for a lot more. And so by then, if you see those $5,000 earnest money, that just means that if it's that high, that just means you're typically going to be in a seller's market. And that's just them showing them that you're serious. So once you put in your offer, they accept it, you submit your earnest money, then you start doing your inspections and things like that. And yeah, that's what the earnest money. So the earnest money just kind of goes to a middleman while you guys are in the process of doing the inspection, getting the appraisal, renegotiating the price, all that stuff. But the earnest money goes for you for your closing costs at the end. So don't think that this earnest money is going to them. So it's going to be for you, but it's just showing them that, hey, you have the money, you're serious about this, because you can't just put in an offer and then just let them take your word, because you can back out of it at any moment. So a lot of times you can get your earnest money back if for whatever reason the deal does fall through, but there has been times where a percentage of the earnest money will go to the seller. But like I said, that's something you'll work out with your agent. They'll tell you kind of what type of deadline, what type of time frame and things like that. Then you'll have to worry about it then. And then they just kind of talk about what type of financing that they're considering. You see they don't want any VA on here. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not open to it, but just as of right now, they don't have it on there. It's still a possibility, but I've been noticing a lot of sellers lately haven't been wanting to go the VA route, especially in the seller's market. And the reasoning behind that is because the VA requires a lot more for the loan to go through. And then also the VA will only give a loan for typically what the once you get the appraisal, what the appraisal comes back is what the VA typically does. So yeah, so those people that don't want the VA people buying their home is because they don't want, the price to be negotiated really. And if there's any issues, they know that the VA will close it down. So that's just waste of time for the seller and waste of time for the buyer. But anyways, so here we got a fourplex. It's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, each unit. And the first 3 units are renting for $625 each. And the last one is renting for $525. And you see the square footage is a little bit different between them, but not by much. So let's go to the next slide. So on here, I kind of put what the current rents are. That number is off by 100 because I put it at $625 for each one of those units. So take off $100 on that. So the numbers are off by 100. But as you guys can see over there, I put that the rents could be increased, and that's going to be something that we're going to talk about. So as of right now, based on the numbers, and I'm going to pull it up so you guys can see, I just kind of typed everything out just so we can kind of talk about it, and then we'll kind of bounce back and forth so you guys can see where these numbers are coming from. So if the principal interest is going to be $1,784, and like I said, these are going to change. These numbers are going to change, and I'm going to show you both what 3.5% down would look like, and also 20% down, because the numbers are all going to be different based on how much you put down. And so we'll look at that at the next step when I bring up everything. So taxes are going to be different from you for what the current owner has, obviously, because they bought it at a different time, a lower price. So their taxes are going to be different based off of what you're going to be purchasing at. So I just did a 1% of what the total cost of the property came out to, and that came out to $361 each month. Insurance came out to about $149. Property management, if you want to get it, like I said, this current owner doesn't have any property managers, but if you want to do it, it's typically going to be about 10%. So 10% of the rents would be $250 for the month. And then maintenance, $250 per month, and that's just coming from the owner right now. Based on the numbers that they did for last year, it worked out to about $250 a month. But if you guys remember last week, they say the rule of thumb is about 1% of the property costs. So 1% of the property cost would be $4,200 annually, or $354 a month that you want to be putting aside for maintenance, if you go off of that 1% rule. So I put the 250 in there right there because that's what the current owner, that's what they said that they spent for their maintenance. So I just use those numbers, but you can see if you use the 1% rule, it's actually going to be a little bit more than that. Landscaping, when we take a look at this property, we'll kind of touch on that. This one doesn't really have much grass and things like that, so the landscaping is probably going to be real low cost on this one. Utilities is $250 per month, and that's coming from the current owner. I just took those numbers and plugged it in there. And then also remember, we want to do set 5% aside for vacancies every month. Some people say 3%, some people do 4%. The rule of thumb is typically 3% to 5% that you always want to set aside for vacancies. So when you do, if you ever do have vacancies, you have that money that you've been setting aside every month, right? So like I said, you're supposed to be setting this money aside and doing these things for when these issues happen, because maintenance issues will arise as you continue to be the owner, and then vacancies will happen. So you want to make sure you are setting yourself up. You don't want to start tapping into your real estate money and start using it for your personal money. So you want to have all your funding separate so you can have that money that you need for when emergencies come up, whether it be a heater go out, it might need some roof work, things like that. So you always want to set money aside for those issues that will come down the road. So we'll just keep rocking with these numbers. I know it's off a little bit by 100, but it's okay because we're just doing this for example purposes. So anyways, the rents are bringing in $2,500 a month in rent. So all the expenses, including the principal and interest, taxes, insurance, and other expenses, everything came out to $3,034, which leaves us with a negative cash flow of $534. So I kind of want you guys to remember these numbers, because I kind of want some feedback from you guys just to see. I just want to make sure you guys are kind of getting this. So I want you guys to kind of either write these down, screenshot or whatever, kind of remember these numbers, because when we do our Q&A at the end, I kind of want to talk to you guys about these numbers and see if you guys have been picking up all the stuff that I've been talking about, what you can do to increase that number. So some other payments to always keep in mind when, dealing with real estate. Like I said, these aren't the only numbers. You are going to have a down payment, whether it be 3.5% if you go the FHA route. A lot of conventionals are allowing 3.5% as well. 20% of the loan amount, and closing costs. Closing costs are typically going to be 2% to 5% of the loan amount. You're going to have your appraisal, but you don't have to worry about the appraisal because that's going to be rolled into your closing costs for the most part. But you can look to see that be about $300 to $500, depending on how big the property is and depending on your location. If you want to get creative and find some other ways to increase your NOI, your net operating income, if people want to have pets, you might be able to charge for pets. If you have assigned parking, you might be able to charge for parking. If you have extra storage units that are on the property that's easy accessible for your tenants, you could charge for storage. If you want to get washing machines, if you don't have any hookups in your units that you're looking at, and if there's just a back area or a common area for people to wash their clothes, you can charge for laundry. You can offer discounted rates. If people want to pay 6 months in advance or a year in advance, you can work that out to however you want. If somebody will pay you a year in advance and you tell them, hey, if you pay me a year in advance, I'll give you $500 off for the whole year. Some people might be able to do that. So you never know what people could do until you present them with different things. So, how cool would that be if you can get a whole year's rent up front? That means you could take that money and roll that into your next property. You can do different things like that. You can get creative and do it however you want. I just put numbers out here, for example. To find real estate agents, remember we talk about Google, word of mouth, different real estate groups, bigger pockets. There's so many ways to get out there and find real estate agents. The same thing with lenders. Reach out to the real estate agent that you find, Google, bigger pockets, word of mouth, the home inspector. Like I said, you could talk to your real estate agent to get that network going. You could just Google all these different ways for you to find home inspectors. So that's that part. So let's bring up this property. So here's that property right there. I just put it in Google real quick. I kind of like to look at, this is the property, just so you guys know. So I like to look at the street view. So if you're looking at properties that are not in your area, and if you really don't want to go out there just yet, you could take a look at the street view. That way you can kind of get a good idea of how the area is looking. So, is it too run down for you? Is it too far away from any big businesses? Is it too far away from schools? All that different stuff. You want to look and see, are the neighbors keeping their stuff clean? This is a good way for you to kind of get a good idea of how the neighborhood is looking without you actually having to physically go there and look yourself. So this is how that property looks. So let's bring it up on Zillow. I know there's a lot of Zillow haters out there, but hey, it works. It gets the job done. And like I said, once you guys get deeper into your real estate journey, you guys will not be using Zillow. It's just a good starting point, and I like to use this as a good example. It's really user friendly. They have a lot of good tools, a lot of up-to-date prices and things like that. But don't take these prices that they have on here as stone, right? Because once you get with your lender, things are constantly changing. You know, something crazy might happen tomorrow and prices might shoot up, prices might shoot down, lenders might change. So these prices aren't going to be, 100% accurate. So, this is just going to be a good starting point for you to get some good information. You can get all the information off of here for you to contact like a home insurance. So you can start calling around to get some home insurance. It's good for you to call around different lenders because you have the total amount that the property is being sold for and things like that. So you can get a lot of stuff done ahead of the time before you start putting in offers and things like that. So let's just kind of take a look at what I had in here. So for this one, as you can see, it's going to be a lot more than what that original was. So this monthly cost is going to be looking at about $2,600 a month. And what's in here is everything but the utilities. There are no HOA fees. So everything is plugged in here except for utilities. And I showed you guys the previous owner was saying that they were spending $3,000 a year on utilities. So you could just, if you have the information, you can go ahead and plug it in here. As you see, they have different categories for you if you want to plug it in so you can get better numbers. Or once you call your lender and you start getting different numbers, once you get an exact interest rate. So the interest rate when I first brought this up was different. I contacted a couple lenders to see what they were doing for today's rate, and a lot of them were doing 3.25. So I just kind of put that in here just as an example. So you guys can see the asking price is $424,900. I put 3.5% as the down payment. So when you put 3.5%, you're going to have what's called the PMI, the mortgage insurance. So that's what you're paying to FHA by them leveraging 96.5% of the loan for you. That's going to be one of the caveats to them giving you that big amount, right? So I know it sounds good getting 96.5% of the loan taken care of for you. So you don't have to worry about coming out all of it out of pocket. You don't have to come out that $14,872 plus some additional closing costs, appraisals, and inspections, things like that. But it comes with this mortgage insurance that's going to last for a good little bit on your loan until you get about 20% equity, and then you'll be able to go back and get that taken care of. Or if you refinance, if you get enough equity to refinance into a conventional, and if you have the funding, you'll be able to get that removed as well. So there's some creative ways that I talked about getting the private mortgage insurance removed. I believe I talked about that on the second or third course. So go back and look where I talk about it. I go a little more in detail on how to get that removed and taken off earlier. So let's go ahead and plug and play. Let's change this to 20% just so you guys can see the numbers. So right now, with 3.5% down, you'd be looking at about $2,600 a month. Plus it doesn't have, what were we saying for utilities, plus the $250 for utilities and other things. So you could just plug and play that in there. So let's change it to 20% and see what it changes down to. So it changes down to a lot. So you have to put more down for your down payment, but you see what it brings your monthly cost to. It lowers it a lot because you don't have that mortgage insurance anymore. So the mortgage insurance is going to be if you put less than 20% down. So remember that for when you go to do your numbers, when you're trying to get your money for your down payment, so you know what route you want to go. So if you want to put a little less down, like I said, an $84,000 down payment versus a $14,000 down payment, but it also increases to 2,600 versus I should write it down. Let's see, 2,600 versus, so about $700 difference. And you have to put more down. So what works best for you is not going to work best for everyone. And so get creative with, a lot of people ask, how can I get down payment money? Round up a whole bunch of family members, round up friends, coworkers, you know what I mean? So it's like, you have to get out there and start talking to people. If you don't have the money to put that down and tell people, hey, if you can get 5,000 from this person, 2,000 from this person, you know what I mean? And just work out something with each individual person and say, hey, I'm trying to get this real estate property. This is it. This is how it looks. If you want to come with me when I'm going to look at it and, see what I'm trying to do, I want to get it, fix it up, make some money from the rents, eventually refinance, and I'll be able to pay you all your money, by this time. So you can draw it out and see how much you're making and tell them, hey, I'm not going to be able to pay you that full amount right away, but we can do like a monthly payment system, and I'll make sure you get your interest. That's some things you can do if you don't have that type of network. You have to put yourself out there. For those of you who don't have a network, I was one of those people. I didn't have a network, but the more you start putting yourself out there, use the Wealth Squad, right? We have, almost 35,000 members within the Wealth Squad, and everyone's mission is the same in the Wealth Squad, or else I don't understand why they would want to be in the Wealth Squad if they're, we're trying to get wealthy. We're trying to do generational wealth, and you have to do things and hold things long enough so you can pass it on to get that generational wealth. So that's enough on that. So another thing that I did, so you guys can kind of see what it sold for 6 years ago, 185,000, and look at where we're at now. So a nice jump to just get a property and hold it for 6 years. So not only whoever this person was that bought it back in 2015, so they bought this property for 185,000, and they're turning around selling it for almost 300,000 more than what they paid for in only 6 years. Think about how long it would take you to make $300,000 to not even necessarily make, but to just get a check. Because a lot of people, if you make money, you're constantly spending because you got bills and you got all this stuff. So where else can you find, obviously this can go the other direction too. I don't want to make it seem like it's all peaches and strawberries, but you see there is some good potential. So this person put 185. Well, they probably, they got creative. Maybe, I don't know what they did. They could have put 3.5% down and, wrote it out. And then 6 years later, they're letting the tenants pay for the mortgage, and then they just turn around and sold it for almost a $300,000 profit, right? In only 6 years. So that's great. That's amazing. This is what I want you guys to see. So instead of selling this, I personally probably would have, refinanced it, or who knows, you can get whatever works for you. This person, maybe they were tired of having it and they were just ready to, take their 300,000 and maybe go somewhere and retire, or who knows, whatever they wanted to do. As you can see, the tax history and things like that. So something else that I did was, remember how I told you guys last time to go on Rent-O-Meter so you can get a good idea of what rents go for in that area. So as we can see, let me bring it up. As we can see, the current rents were going for $625 for each unit, except for that one unit, right? So the average in this area is going for $841. So remember that, right? When we come back to the end and we do this Q&A, look at that and tell me what you guys think. So hopefully you guys wrote those numbers down so we can come back to it. But these numbers right here already tell me a lot more about this deal than what we're seeing on the outside. And then also, remember, another trick I told you guys to do is to go to apartments.com, put in the zip code, put in how many beds, and then so that way you can get another good idea of what things are going for in this area, just so you have another reference besides Rent-O-Meter. You can go to apartments and see exactly what apartments are going for. So on the high end, they're going for about 1,100 in this area, and then on a low end, we'll say 750. So a good median would be about $840 to $900. And as you guys can see, what the current rents are right there, $625. So about 200 less than what they should be going for. So yeah, that's that. Okay, so we're gonna open up this Q&A kind of early, but before we kind of get into the Q&A, I kind of want to talk about this property. What, for anybody out there, there's no, like I said, there is no right or wrong. This is a safe space. Everyone's learning. So hopefully one of you guys will just jump in there and tell me, based off of these rents alone, what is something that you see, or what is something that could be done to change this cash flow from being negative to get it closer into the positive. So whoever wants to jump in and let's start talking about this. Any takers? Anybody brave enough to jump in? Tell me your opinions on this.
Oh, my question is, how quickly would you be able to raise the rents, or would you have to, I suppose, give people a potential eviction notice, and then raise the rents to something close to market rate?
Okay, so for before we answer that, what would you do? What would you do to try to get your cash flow increased on this one, just from all the numbers that we've looked at so far and what you've seen?
I'll definitely attempt to raise the rents, as soon as possible. Then, you know, you said before with the washers and dryers, having those be coin-based, and if parking is currently free, have the tenants pay for that. If water is currently potentially tied in with the property, have that separately applied to each tenant, things like that.
Okay, good. Yep, that's right. That's pretty much spot on. So a lot of ways that you can get creative with this right away, as we see, is going for 625. And as we see on here, the rents for this area go for 841. So just what, 841 and subtract what, 625. So that's $216 that we could get increase for each unit, and that's going to be 4 units. So that's $864 that we can look to increase just off of the rents alone. And then that will put us at about a $330 positive cash flow after that. And then so to touch on her question on when can you raise rents, this is why I say it's so good to be in touch with property managers, because the law is going to be different for every state, every city, every county is going to be different. So when you can raise rents, you can't just come in and say, I'm all right, we're about to raise the rents. You have to give your tenants a notice. You have to give them a heads up. You have to give them the option. And then you also have to see when you're taking over, a property that has tenants already in it, you have to see what their contract is, right? Just because you're the new owner, that doesn't mean that their contract gets thrown out of the window. So there's so many different laws and rules to when you can raise the rent. And even now with COVID, it's even getting a little trickier to how much you could even raise the rent, because everywhere is different. I know some people weren't able to raise the rents to what they wanted to due to there being a hold on it. But like I said, all that stuff is changing. But everywhere is different. So I can't say the rule is you can give your tenants 3 months to decide if they want to stay. You would either have to research the rules yourself for your state, your city, your county, or you can reach out to a seasoned property manager who knows those rules. Good question. All right, thanks for tapping in.
Hey, for a property like that, are they allowed to let you know if the people are paying the current rent, or are they letting you know that they're not paying due to COVID?
So yeah, the numbers that I have that I pulled on that I had in the slides, those were the actual numbers and the rents of what those tenants are currently paying. So the tenants are currently paying their rent here. And that's something that you definitely want to know, right? You don't want to go, just because it has tenants, that doesn't mean that the tenants have been paying the rent. So those are things that, you want to know, and you want to make your decisions based off of that as well. Because like I said, you don't want to get into something where someone's been there for 7 months and they haven't paid rent for 7 months because of COVID and everything like that. And then if the state isn't allowing you to evict people because of COVID, then it's like you're going to be sitting on that until you get that, till those policies start to change and things like that. So that's something that's going to be part of your due diligence when you're figuring out, when you're working with your real estate agent, when they're getting the pro forma, the T12, like the rent roll, things like that. Those are all the things that you want to be looking for. So yeah, so any questions that you guys have, just go ahead and start firing them off right now. We're kind of like in that Q&A kind of phase.
Well, I want to thank you for the presentation, and also you responded back to one of the questions I asked you about a HELOC that I'm going through right now. And hopefully it ends up going through. I'm gonna probably take the whole 115,000, like I asked you earlier.
Yeah.
It's just about investing and trying to find the right place for the right type of cash flow.
For sure. And I'm actually helping somebody else that's in the process of doing a refinance right now. At the end of the day, you know, everyone's always screaming, you know, refinance, refinance, refinance. Sometimes refinancing just won't make sense. So like me, he reached out to me earlier and I was telling him, make sure, you know, you run your numbers and make sure it makes sense. So what he's going to do is he's going to take that money, that cash he gets from his refinancing, and you're going to use it for another property, right?
Yeah, correct.
Right.
Just
So
do
that's
the whole HELOC and everything. Yeah.
Yep. So that's perfect. So he already has a game plan with this money. What I don't want you guys to do is refinance just to refinance, or refinance because you want to do some home upgrades. Like if you're going to do home upgrades that's going to improve the value of your property, right? So getting a nice, well, if it's going to be your permanent home, then hey, go for it. But if you're using this this real estate game to build this wealth and get as many doors as you can, don't do things like try to get nice lamps and nice ceilings and, you know, things like that. That's not going to really add any value. You want to be doing stuff that's going to add value, you know, upgrading your kitchen, upgrading your bathroom, upgrading the floors, things like that. The different type of windows, you can get tax break for certain areas for certain type of eco-friendly type of windows, right? All these different things. Are you going to upgrade the yard? Are you going to take out, are you in somewhere where grass just doesn't really grow too well? Are you going to take out that grass and add artificial grass? You know, are you going to do upgrades to the back? Are you going to, you know, do some paint? Are you going to do these things? If you guys are going to refinance, make sure you have a game plan with that money before you even want to refinance. And don't use it for, I mean, you can use it for personal use if you want to, but you really be setting yourself back by doing that. So I'm glad you got a good plan. I'm glad you reached out and asked the question, and keep me updated with how that goes for you.
No, definitely. It's funny when they ask that question, what are you going to use the money for? Upgrade? I said, no, I'm trying to make more money with that investment. And they just stop and pause, like, they just pause, like, oh, that's smart. But they don't say it. I can just tell it.
Right. And because
But yeah, I appreciate everything.
most people don't do that. When people refinance, they use it to dig themselves out of debt. They use it to go buy, you know, new furniture. They use it to go buy new TVs. They want to get a new car. You know what I mean? They want to do everything but use it to make you more money. And then that's the thing. So this next property that you're about to get in 2 or 3 years, you can turn around and do the same thing that you're doing right now with that property and get another one, right? You're on the right track, man. I'm glad you're using it in the right way.
And honestly, it's all because of the Well Squad and you. So I appreciate it more than
Love it,
anything.
man. Love to hear it.
And I'll feel very blessed and honored when I get to let you know when I got something.
Yeah, please do, man. Please do.
Wow.
Go ahead. If you guys got any questions, go ahead and fire them off. I'm just in here playing around, looking at stuff, just messing around while I'm waiting for you guys to ask some questions. All right, so I'm just looking around right now. Down south is an area that I like a lot. I like the Alabama area. I have a friend, he's out there scouting for me right now. He's looking to get into real estate. He ran into some money. He's been saving up. So I told him I'll kind of be his eyes and his ears. And I'm gonna put a little money up and we're gonna go in on a couple deals down south. So you guys can see you get more bang for your buck down south. You really do. Rents are obviously going to be a little bit cheaper, but I mean, for 75 grand, you really can't beat. Just looking on the outside, it doesn't look like it needs too much work. I mean, there's going to be a whole nother story when you actually go look, but just from the outside, it doesn't look bad. Only got one picture. Don't just be limited to your area, right? Research. And the cool thing about some of this is they even show what a property could rent out for. Let me go down right here. I mean, it's not very accurate, but it's pretty close. So you could get about 975 for this, and we could even put it in just to see how accurate that is. So let's try this and go see if it's coming up pretty accurate. What was it? 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. 3. So on the low end, and remember how I told you guys last time, there's a difference between if you're renting out an apartment versus if you're renting out a home. You can get more for a home than you would for an apartment. So these ones that we're seeing right here are apartments, and you can see kind of what they're going for. So let's keep scrolling till we see any homes. 725 for that one, 750. Yeah, 850, 850, 850, 875. So, it says 975. So it's probably off by about 100, but you can get about 850 for this in rent. And just looking at this, quick calculations, putting 20% down, putting 15 grand down. That way you don't have to worry about the PMI. Your monthly costs are going to be 358. Put utilities and all that on the tenant, and then charge 800, pay back the bank. After a few other little fees, you'd be clearing about $300 to $400 a month that you'd be pocketing on this one. That's literally how simple and easy it is, you guys. And as you guys can see, we ran through the numbers so many times, but this is how it is. So it's like you have to put up 15 grand plus add another probably 3 to 5 for other things. So I'd say you'd be all in on this one for about 18 grand. It's going to run you about anywhere from, you could add $50 to this, so we can call it $400 a month that you would be paying back towards everything. If you're able to rent it for $850, that leaves $450 in your pocket every month. So that's going to be over $4 grand for the year. And then, like I said, since the tenant's going to be living in here, you can put the landscaping on them, make sure that they cut it at least every month. Even if that number came down to $200 a month that you were profiting, that's going to be $2,400 a year that you're going to be profiting from this property. If you add a property manager in, so you don't have to worry about it, so that cut down some of your costs. But I'm telling you guys, this is how simple and easy it is, right? I'd obviously, we'd have to go get this inspected just to make sure that there wasn't any crazy damage or anything like that. No mold, no mold or anything like that. So let's take a look and see. Let's see if we can see how this street is looking. Oh, they only give us satellite view. So we can't really see too much, but it doesn't look like, from the satellite view, it looks like it's a pretty nice area. Kind of tucked away a little bit. Oh, here we go. Let's go back in there. Kind of tucked away a little bit, but not bad at all. So that's what you guys have to do. You guys just gotta just get in here and just start researching. Let's see. Like I said, if you guys got any questions, just fire them off. I'm just kind of just scrolling through, so you guys can just kind of see on my end.
Hi, I have a question.
Yeah.
With a property out of state, like out of your own state, would you do an LLC?
Yeah, so it depends on what type of financing route you go. If you do VA or FHA, one, you would have to live in the unit or for at least a year. So if you didn't want to live in it, you would have to go the conventional route, meaning you would have to put 20% down. And if you went that route, you'd be able to put it in an LLC right away. So if you did VA or FHA, you're technically not supposed to have investment properties, but they kind of lift that caveat after 1 year of you living in it as your primary residence. So 1 year, 1 day, if you use the VA and FHA, you'd be able to put it over into a LLC.
Thanks. I have to do an investment because I already have a FHA and a conventional.
Okay.
And I think it's 25% that I have to put down. So would you do the LLC automatically?
Different lenders require different things. Yeah, you can, instead of when you go to do your signing and everything, you just tell them that you're going to be putting it, you can tell your real estate agent or whoever you're dealing with that you're going to be putting it in your LLC if you want to. So that way they have, everything is already in the paperwork. So when you go to sign, it's already good to go.
Do you do the LLC first in the state or after?
It doesn't have to, your LLC can be, it doesn't have to be in that state. Your LLC can be in any state. It doesn't have to be in the state where you get your investment property.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Do you look more for single families or, I know multifamilies are best, but do you also
Yeah,
look at single families as well?
I'm a multi-family guy. Just because I like I don't I have a couple of duplexes left in my portfolio, but I'm trying to get rid of them. I don't want anything less than 4 units. I like it's my style. I like it, but it's not as I don't have any hate against single families or duplexes, condos. I found a system that works for me, and I'm sticking with it until it doesn't work for me anymore. So I love getting rent for 4 doors under one building. It's great. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Yep. So this one, just kind of looking at this one with the ramp and everything. So this one's going to be kind of for a specific type of person, right? A person that has disabilities. Not necessarily saying that it's only going to be for people that have disabilities, but the good thing about when you see this ramp here, some people that are on disability might have some type of government assistance. So that might be something that you'll have a long-term tenant. So if I were to get this property right here, you guys see how cheap it is. It's only 40 grand. I'm sure it needs a little bit of work, but I would take the time and actually putting some money into this because, people that have disabilities and stuff like that, they're looking to kind of stay long term. They don't want to bounce around, especially if you have the house. If they have a wheelchair, they need wheelchair access and things like that. They're not going to be looking to bounce around. So what I would do is I would put a little money into this, get a nice little paint job, maybe make sure the ramp is good to go and gonna last for a while. This porch looks like it needs some work done, so I'd probably put a little money into that. The floors look pretty good. Everything else cosmetic on the inside, a little work in the bathroom, that's minor stuff. Water heater looks pretty good. And a few little minor things, but this is something that you could potentially, offer probably 35 grand and then put another 10 to 15 grand into it. And then you'd be able to charge a little bit more, and that tenant that you're going to have in there will probably be a long-term tenant. So that's the kind of stuff you guys want to look at. You want to look at longevity. It's not just about how much can I make right now, how much can I profit right now, how fast can I get in the green. So yes, it's a numbers game. Yes, it's worried about profit, but sometimes you have to think a little bit into the future as well. But yeah, for this price, 2 bedroom, 1 bath, you can't beat it. You really can't.
Do you have a preference with the the assistance that your tenants might receive, meaning like if it's market rate tenants versus like government assistant tenants?
Yeah, so the government assisted tenants, they have a set amount that they can spend per zip code, and then also for the type of house you have, how many homes, how many bedrooms. So, if you're looking to go like that Section 8 route or anyone that's getting government assistance, you can go through the whole process just to make sure you can have them come out. You can have them, check your property. You can do the whole nine just so you can see, and they'll let you know, okay, for this type of property, we can give you X amount. And for the most part, it's gonna be at market rent, right? They know what the market rent is. So for the most part, it's gonna be at market rent. And the good thing about that is that you're gonna have a check coming in every month, right? Because the government is paying it or most of it, and the tenant isn't gonna have to pay that much if they're on Section 8 or some type of government assistance. And then also, it protects you because they'll inspect the property, they'll take pictures. So that way, if the tenant does ever trash your place or anything like that, the government already did the inspection. So if there's something that's major, the government will be on the hook and they'll help you out to make sure that everything gets taken care of.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Hi, so I had a question about the LLC.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I've heard that some people make multiple LLCs for their properties.
Yeah.
Do you do that, or do you kind of just have one that you have all of your properties under?
I make multiple, and the reasoning behind that is because if you have multiple properties, if something were to go wrong at one property and a person sues you, if you have all those LLCs under one or if you have all those properties under one LLC, they can come after all those properties. So if you have them in each individual LLC, they can only come after what you've gotten for that one property.
Okay, so you actually make a new LLC for each property
I
that you
do.
own?
Yep.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Here's another good one, you guys. Doesn't need much work, just a little cosmetic stuff on the inside. Good price. 49, could probably offer them 40, and it's already down a little more. Let's see how the area is looking. Decent neighborhood. Yeah, see, like I said, this is all day. I just, in the morning when I get up, I'll just pick different areas and I'll just kind of look around. I don't just stick to one place. I'm looking around everywhere. Every day you wake up, look at least 10 or 15 properties that fit your price range. Start making offers. There's plenty of money to be made out here. A lot of good properties at good prices. I can tell this one's going to be a nice one. The roof looks semi-fresh. Yard's not bad. All the concrete and everything is looking pretty good. Outside structure is looking pretty well. I'm sure the inside is probably upkept just as good. So, like I said, don't think that you have to invest where you live at. I know a lot of people that live in those areas where cost of living is very expensive. There are other areas, and look at this one. Tenant is already in there paying $750. These are the ones you want, the ones that got, and I bet you that tenant's probably been there forever. Let's see, they've been there for 2 years.
I got a question for you. Have you ever done a how would you say rent to own or lease to own? Something like that.
No, I haven't done any of those. I was talking to somebody about that last week. Someone who he's thinking about getting heavy into. I would do that with mobile homes. If you ever thought about mobile home investing, that's a really good route. There's a lot of good YouTube videos on people talking about being the bank, renting to own, and the type of profit you can look to make from it.
Yeah, I'm hearing the same thing. Plus, it seems like those people will take care of the property more because they feel like they own it more than anything.
Exactly. So here goes a no-brainer for this one, you guys. So they already say the tenant is paying $750 per month already. So boom, that tells us already how much they're paying. And then let's see, go down to the 310, put 20% down, 13K, add a few, add a little more money, put the utilities on them, 310, bring it in 750. So you guys do the math on that one. And then, if you want to add a property manager, that probably will cut into your profits a little bit. So even if you're able to collect $100 a month from just this one, that's $1,200 a month. If you have a property manager to cut into your profit a little bit, if you're out of state, that way you don't have to worry about it. This tenant has been here already for 2 years. The area looks pretty nice. So that tells me that this tenant is probably going to end up being here for a while, especially paying that type of rent. They'll probably be there for a good bit. But even if they didn't, I'm sure it'd be really easy to get somebody to go right back into this place. So once you lock this in, once you lock in your rates are locked in. So, if you want to do this, if you want to do like a 15-year mortgage on this one, your rates are going to be locked. You'll be good. So you already know what it could rent for, and you already have a renter in there. And then, like I said, as the years keep going and as rent constantly keeps increasing, your principal and interest is going to stay the same. Your interest is going to eventually go down because the more you keep paying, the more your interest goes down. You'll just be paying your principal, and then eventually you'll own it outright, and then you'll just be collecting the check. I'm gonna actually look a little bit more into this one. I'm gonna save this one because I like the numbers on this one. And I got a few people already out here. But this is it, you guys. This is what you guys need to be doing. Just get on here and start looking. You just never know what type of gems you'll find in these price ranges. And I know a lot of people are probably looking like, damn, I can't find nothing in my area for this price range. When you start looking at those Calis and Washington State around Seattle and New York and DC and Maryland, shit, good luck trying to find something like this. Oh yeah, look at this one. This needs a little work on the outside. This is easy work. Could go to Home Depot. And so don't sleep on the people, the workers, those guys that hang around outside of Home Depot and stuff. A lot of those guys are really good and they'll work for really cheap. But don't necessarily just pay them cheap because it can get done. You know, figure out what it would cost to get done, and then, you know, maybe undercut that price a little bit. But don't try to get those dudes out there. Don't try to have them doing some slave work for you just because you can get it for cheaper. You know, there are times where I'll have them do some work. I know what it is, and I'll just probably will, you know, undercut the price a little bit. I try to keep it as fair, you know what I mean? So they got to eat too. They got to work. So it's like, you got to pay for it one way or another. So if you can get it at a good little discount, you know, why not? So the only downfall to when you do that type of stuff is be cautious, because you don't have that insurance. Whether if you were to go through like plumbing company and if something were to happen with the plumbing, you can go back and sue the plumbing company. But if you were to, you know, pick one of those guys up that are that sit outside of Home Depot or Lowe's looking for some work, you don't really have any insurance. And then I would start them off, you know, with small jobs, maybe, you know, landscaping, little things like that, painting, stuff that you don't have to really worry about. You know, when it comes to like the electricians and plumbing and the HVAC and all that stuff, I would go the right route and go through a certified business. That way, if something goes wrong, they'll be held accountable and liable for that. We'll just put some new flooring down in here. Kitchen's pretty cool. I bet. All right, you guys got any other questions for me?
Yeah, I got a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I am in the area where you're looking at Alabama. I mean, I'm from Mississippi. I just joined your Zoom right now. I forgot that you were on Zoom today.
Yeah.
My question is that I see some foreclosures that be on Zillow.
Uh-huh.
But when I contact the agent, they be telling me they don't have the information.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who do I contact about that?
Go to the county assessor.
County assessor.
Yep.
Okay. And then they have the information.
Yeah,
Okay.
they have the information for you.
Cool. Thank you so much.
There's different websites that you can go in. You have to pay for. Prospect Now is one of them. But you have to pay. It's a membership, I believe. It's like $115 or something like that. But it'll give you access to the information for properties nationwide.
And you said that's Prospect One?
Prospect Now.
Prospect Now.
PROSPECTNOW.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you so much. Gotcha. Thank you.
And for any of you guys else out there that's listening, if you come across a lot of foreclosures, if you want to get into like the wholesaling game, you want to do some burrs, or if you just want to contact the owner of those properties, check out Prospect Now. They do charge. It's a decent platform. There are other platforms that you can use. That's one that I've used before to get information. So it's another good tool to use. Good question. You guys got any other questions for me before we wrap this up?
So Chris, this is Josh I'm from Vegas too, but I had a question about like refinancing, like the whole idea behind that. Is it recommended that you refinance as well?
It just depends on what you want to do with the money. It depends on how much equity you have in your property. And it also depends on what the numbers are when you go to refinance, what the lenders are giving you. So it has to make sense. So you have to know what you're paying now, what you'll end up paying when the loan is over versus if you were to refinance, what that would put you at. So compare the numbers. If it works best for you, and if you have like a game plan, like the gentleman earlier, he has a game plan, he's getting ready to refinance, and he already has a game plan with that money. So if you have a plan with it to get more property or more income, then like I said, make sure it works for you. But refinancing isn't going to always be the answer, or it's not going to always work. So once you go through the process, get your numbers, compare them, and then see what works from you from there.
Right on. Appreciate that, bro.
No problem. All right, you guys, any other questions before we wrap this up? Go ahead and fire it away. So this duplex, the inside is looking pretty good. The outside just needs some work. Yard needs a little bit of work, but the inside looks pretty good. So older inside, but get the job done. A little work on the outside. Roof needs some working. Needs some money into this bad boy, probably about probably like 20,000, 15, 20,000 into this, get it looking pretty good. Raise the rents up a little bit. Duplex looking like a 3-bedroom. I don't know. What I got, let's see, 2 units, 3-bedroom. I'm guessing one of them is probably 3-bedroom, 1 bath, and one is probably 3-bedroom, 2 bath. All right, you guys. So yeah, that's today's class. So that's kind of what I want to be doing with you guys. I want to be going over these different deals. If you guys have deals that you guys want me to go over, send them to me. Send them to me in the Well Squad, or it's a lot easier. I'm noticing it's a lot easier for me to get back to you guys in the Well Squad. So if you guys have any questions, if you ever sent me questions on my social media and I haven't been able to get back to you, please send it to me in the Well Squad. Everyone that sends me messages in the Well Squad, I've gotten back to everybody. So it's a lot easier for me versus on my social media, because it gets crazy in my messages. And sometimes I'll see someone's message, try to get to them, and I'll get sidetracked, and then it'll fall far down. So I'm not purposely not answering anybody's questions or nothing like that. So yeah, so if you guys have a deal that you guys want me to go over this with the group, send it to me. And then that way, when we have the next one, I'll go over it for you. And then, like I said, start doing this, how I put these numbers on the spreadsheet, start writing your numbers out so you can get all your numbers. Write down what your down payment would be, what's, try to figure out, if, put 5%, go on the high end on all these. If you're just trying to guess, that way, if it's less, then it's going to work out better for you. And then at least on the high end what it will be. But for the most part, you can get all of these numbers without getting your credit ran. You can contact lenders and have them send you their rates without getting your credit ran. You can contact real estate agents and get what the current rents are for the place that you're looking at. You don't have to get your credit ran. So stop thinking that you have to get your credit ran for everything. You guys know I'm always preaching about that stuff on here. But yeah, so if you guys don't have any other questions, I appreciate you guys tapping into this class. It's always fun sitting here talking with you guys. Like I said, you guys have, the freedom to ask me any questions you want. If you guys think of something later, shoot me a message in the Well Squad. It's NoTimeZone in there, or on any of my social media. If you guys follow me on Twitter, it's NoTimeZone_. If you follow me on Instagram, it's NoTimeZone with 2 O's in the no. So yeah, that's going to conclude our real estate class for the night. I hope you guys have a good rest of the week. The weekend's coming, so you guys know our motto for the weekend. That doesn't mean put your foot on the brake. That means keep your foot on the gas, keep going harder. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening wherever you guys are at.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.